Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Trauma Killerz Podcast with Christy and Liz. Liz and I want to break the silence of trauma and help others heal their souls. Each week, we dive deep into the roots of human trauma and how hypnosis can aid in recovery. You can also catch full episodes on our YouTube channel at Trauma Killerz Podcast. This podcast is for educational and emotional insight purposes only and is not a substitute for professional mental health support. Some episodes discuss topics related to SA of adults and children. We approach this with deep care, respect, and the intention to empower survivors. If this isn't the right time for you, we encourage you to pause and return when you feel safe. Your healing is your own, and it deserves to be honored. Please subscribe and share to help us keep the conversation going. Hi, everybody. I'm Christy.
I'm Liz.
And welcome to the Trauma Killerz Podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about what hypnosis is and what hypnosis isn't, just to give you an idea. In case you're interested in doing a session, plus there are a lot of myths out there about what hypnosis is, and we just want to make sure we take care of getting rid of those misconceptions.
Yep, that's right. So maybe you're interested in having a session, or it's just a little fascinating to you in general. This will help kind of prep you for what to expect in a session. So my name's Liz. I've been practicing QHHT since 2020, and in 2025, I learned introspective hypnosis. That Chris took the class with me.
Yep.
So here we are. And Chris, you're also BQH.
Yeah, so I do QHHT, BQH, and introspective hypnosis. And if you guys are interested in any sessions with us, or even if you're looking for someone in your area that does it, you can check out our contact information below, contact us, and we can either set up a session with you, because this can be done over Zoom, or we can hook you up maybe with a practitioner in your area. So first of all, kind of talking about what hypnosis isn't. There's a lot of misconceptions about that. So a lot of people think, that the tricks that they see on stage acts and things like that, where, they make you hop up and down like a dog, or they make you bark, they make you do something like that. A lot of people think that that's what hypnosis is, and that you're totally not in control of what's going on, and the person can make you do anything they want. That's just not true. You are in control. All hypnosis is self-hypnosis, and you are in control at the time that you're doing it. You can stop a session at any point if you want to, and you certainly can't be talked into doing something that you are not willing to do. So that's something that you need to keep in mind. Also, a lot of people say that only weak-minded people can be hypnotized, and that's not true either. It has nothing to do with being weak-minded or strong-minded or whatever. It's just, if you have a willingness to have an experience, you'll have the experience. If you don't want the experience, then you won't. I can't force you to be hypnotized. So know that going into a session. I know sometimes I get people, maybe Liz does too, that are like, oh, I'm coming because you'll never hypnotize me. Like, I'm not going to go under. You'll never do me. And I'm just kind of like, then why are you here?
Why are you calling me?
Like, I'm not doing this to have challenges. I'm not here to do these sessions so that I can prove to you that I can put you under. That's not what this is about. This is about getting healing. So certainly don't go into a session with that kind of attitude, because you pretty much won't get anything out of it.
Yeah. It's like all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. When you get hypnotized, you've agreed to it. So if you've seen the people that do the stage hypnosis, right? They do a little exercise, and then the stage hypnotist picks out people that were going under easier. Mm-hmm. Then they pull them up on stage. So by the people going up on stage, that's them agreeing to it, free will, that they're going to allow themselves to be hypnotized. And maybe it's on a subconscious level. They're not sitting there saying, I'm going to let myself be hypnotized today.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to.
They're just open to it.
They're just open to it.
Yeah. I watched one guy, I don't remember who it was, but he was like he had a whole panel of students up, and he was putting them down, and he did a quick, one of the quick ones. And you see a bunch of the kids drop, and I'm all like, yeah, this is like so put, like it just seemed like it was totally put on, because they all just completely collapsed, just right. Like, yeah. And then the one kid's like just sitting there, and he wouldn't go under, and the guy goes back over to him, and he's like, oh, so you don't want to go? And he's like saying stuff to him, and then he goes, sleep.
And the kid goes down, and then the guy brings him back. He pulls him back up again, and he goes, no, you're not quite ready yet. And then he does it again. He goes, sleep. No, you're not. He was using deepeners to get that kid to finally go under. And the whole time the kid's kind of laughing, but you could tell he got him out of his own head. And then he finally went under. Yeah. So that was really interesting to watch. But yeah, it's, it can't be done unless you are willing to have it done.
Right. And one of the fears people have when they come see me is that they won't be in control. So that they'll reveal all the skeletons in your closet. I'm not really interested in seeing your skeletons in your closet, but I'm also not interested in finding out, all the bad things that you've done. So you're still working to protect yourself. So you're not going to be out of control.
Right. And not only that, when you're under these, when we do these sessions, I think some people also have the fear that they're going to see something that they're not ready to deal with or handle or whatever. And the point is that, your subconscious is there to protect you. I mean, if people with, although I think they don't really consider split personality to really be a diagnosis, something anymore. They don't believe split personalities are what we thought they were or something like that. But it's, your brain tries to protect you from traumas. And that's what split personalities were. If you ever saw the movie Sybil, that's like one of the biggest and most well-known cases of split personality. I think she had something like 100 different personalities. And it was because of the absolute evil that her mother put her through as a child. I won't even tell you the stuff that was done to her.
I want to watch the movie, but I can't because of that.
It's one of Sally Field's best performances, and she was young in that too.
Maybe if I skip forward past the abuse, I could watch it.
It's bad, but so that's what your brain tries to protect you. So in the case of split personalities, you have these traumas, and then you split off these personalities that either are there to protect you, or
they can handle that aspect.
They can handle it, or it's like another child. It's whatever. So so it's kind of your soul your subconscious protects you. So you're not going to reveal anything to yourself or to the practitioner that you're not ready to deal with and handle. And these sessions are confidential. It's we are not doctors. We're not licensed therapists.
We're not miracle healers.
We're not miracle healers. Yeah, but we're not doctors. But our stuff is confidential. So we don't talk about it unless you agree that we can, talk about it, those types of things. And we don't repeat it to family, friends, whatever. It's confidential. So you're not going to reveal anything that neither one of us has ever probably heard before. And you're certainly not going to tell us anything that is embarrassing or anything like that. That, we're here to help you is kind of the point I'm trying to make. And so just trust in that and understand that it is confidential. Your subconscious is not going to let you see anything that you're not ready to deal with.
Another fear people have when they see me is going back to a life where they hurt people really bad. And if that's where you go, then that's where the soul needs to heal. So it's trusting.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's the thing too. It's like, even if, you see things that you did, or if you're afraid of finding out things that happened, most likely there's something you need to find out.
Yeah.
If you have
that good for you, though.
Feeling. Yeah. And then the thing is too, why live in fear of that? Get rid of it.
Yeah. It's over.
Yeah. Get in there, deal with it, and be done with it.
Learn
and stop reliving it. Yep.
The other thing is, people think that they won't remember anything coming out of trance. And this is a big thing in QHHT, because Dolores said in the beginning, people would not remember anything. What do you think? 90, 95%?
Oh, yeah. She said like 95% of people didn't remember anything.
But now?
Oh, now I think it's flipped.
Most people remember. It's very rare. I have someone that doesn't remember anything. And the wild thing is, you can't tell. So people that I'm like, oh my gosh, they're not going to remember anything. Remember everything. And when I think they won't remember any, it's the opposite. It's the opposite. So you want your conscious mind there. Yeah. And I think of it as that almost like, so when I had a session recently, I was like, there was one point I was like, I don't feel like I'm that deep, because I wasn't getting a lot of information that I felt like I should have. Expectations, right? But at the same time, I was like, but my eyes are going crazy. And when she's asking me to look around, I'm actually moving my body to look around. So if I wasn't in trance,
right,
I wouldn't have been doing that. But going back to remembering now, sometimes sessions can be long. I had a session yesterday and the lady was like, oh yeah, I remember everything. It was great. And I said, well, I still listen to the recording because there might be things that you don't remember. She emailed me last night and said, yes, there's a lot of that I didn't remember. I thought I did.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a dream. I compare it to a dream. It starts to fade. Once you start being in your normal life and you walk out of the office, things will fade a little bit. Yeah. But you're not going to be blacked out. Because I've had people say, no, I don't want to remember. I don't want to remember. I'm not that deep. Because I'm still here. I'm still here. You're going to be there. Yeah. You were physically there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was the hardest, like we had talked about before, the hardest part for me was that being present. I was expecting that I wasn't going to be. I was expecting that I was going to kind of be like, woo, 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 you know, maybe off to the side a little bit, but like not really participating. And so then when I did the sessions and it was like, okay, I'm right here. Like this is, I'm like, I don't feel like anything. Like I could open up my eyes, I could walk out, I could do whatever I want. Well, yeah, you can. And that's the one thing I didn't understand about it. And so, yeah, so like when we did our session and I, you know, what talking about like the expectations about sessions, people have a hard time understanding what we mean by the term visualize. And so some people think that when you're in a session and you're looking at your past life, that it's a movie screen right in front of your face, and you know, you're just going to be watching it like a movie. But in fact, like you said, like you were turning or looking around, that's what it's like. It's like, you know, for me, it's like was a knowing, like I said, a knowing. It wasn't, you know, so as an example, Liz is putting me under and she's like, we get through the whole induction. And then she's like, okay, you know, where are you? What do you see? I'm like, I don't see anything. It's black. And I felt like I had something in my hand. And then I felt like I was being drawn to my hands and my feet. I don't know how to explain it. It was just that all of a sudden I was kind of like, oh, I feel like I have something in my hands. I feel like I might have something on my feet. But I was like, okay, it's the blanket. I'm holding on to the blanket and I've got shoes on, you know. But then I was like, no, it's something else. Something's drawing my attention to it. So then I just started talking to you and I was like, well, I think I'm holding something. I think I got something on my feet. And then I was like, I'm wearing moccasins. And I'm like, wait a minute, how did I know I was wearing moccasins? And then I was like, okay. And so the more you asked me, okay, what next or what else are you wearing? The more that I kind of surrendered to it, then things started to appear, so to speak. And then I knew I was wearing leather pants and I knew I had on like an Indian, like chest plate thing or whatever and all that kind of stuff. And then I had a picture of it in my head. Mm-hmm. So as I was explaining to you earlier, what I tell my clients is it, you know, to understand what visualization is, everybody sees it different. Some people do see a movie. We've talked about this before. Some people see themselves as a cartoon because maybe their mind's like, I'm not quite ready for, you know, to see myself in this scene or whatever. And so basically they see like a cartoon version or whatever. But it's different for everybody. So what I tell my clients is close your eyes and describe in as much detail as you can what everything that you see and encounter on your way from your bedroom to the kitchen in the morning or whenever you do it. And then they'll be like, oh, okay. And I'm like, tell me what's in your bedroom. Oh, my dresser's over here. The door's there. I've got this thing hanging on the door. You're not seeing that like it's a movie screen, but you can picture it in your head. And that's what visualization is. When people come into it and they, you know, they come out, they're in the trance and all of a sudden they're like, all I see is black. I don't see anything, you know, like whatever it, or, you know, they're just like, I don't see anything. I really don't see anything. And actually they might be seeing something. The sky could be a different color. There's something there. You're just still like stuck in your left brain. So it's like, once you start talking about it and like, we have techniques like, you know, with like, okay, well, start moving forward. And as you move forward, things will get brighter and
Or
you'll be
reach
able to
out,
see,
because
reach
you
out
could
to
be
touch something.
somewhere dark.
Yeah, like people have come out of trances in like dungeons,
Mhm.
and then they think that there's nothing there, and really they're just in a pitch black dungeon.
Yeah.
You
Or
know,
it's
so-
nighttime and like they're in
right,
the woods.
or they're outside. Yeah.
So your mind will adjust you. I mean, once in a while, people go right into it, and they might be on
Oh,
the
yeah.
battlefield or something. But
Yeah.
we're talking about when people see black.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I tell people, when I say see, it's not just see, it's knowing, it's feeling, because a lot of times the emotions will take over,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then you just know what's happening.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't. I feel like people focus on the seeing when they first go under, and then after that, it's never brought up. Not like, oh, I don't see anything. It's like once they see something, then the next time if they say I don't see anything, it's like there's something there,
Right.
because you already know that they can see it,
or they have an expectation,
yeah,
of what they should see.
Right. Yeah, and they're not seeing it. Like, well, you were just saying like the one thing where you just drop into something. So I'll give the example. The first woman that I ever did was at my one training session, and it was I go through the induction, and she's under. I'm like, okay, so where are you? What do you see? And she goes, well, it's kind of weird. I go, okay, tell me what you see. And she's like, well, I see a castle. I'm wearing a full knight armor.
Mhm.
I'm standing in front of a castle. Like, I think I'm in Ireland. Okay, so what's strange? There's a big tape recorder laying on the lawn. And I'm like, a tape recorder? And I'm thinking to myself, what the hell did I do wrong? Like, what is this woman
Right.
seeing? All of a sudden, I look over. I never turned the tape recorder on to record the session.
How about that?
The second I turned it on, it disappeared.
Interesting.
And I was like, that's just crazy.
Sometimes I feel like you like, I go into a trance. When they go into a trance, I
think I
go
do
into a
too.
trance.
I try to see what they're
Because
saying.
sometimes I'm like, wow, I'm so calm right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have a session that day, or the person's almost there. But sometimes you can you feel what they're kind of saying. Not all the time.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah,
But
you
that's
probably just
so
get
fascinating.
And and I've said, we've talked about in the other podcasts about kind of the sensationalism of the QHHT, and how people get their metaphysical stuff and everything. But I'll say the one thing that has always been something that I find extremely interesting with, and I can't explain it, but every session I have, at the end of the session, I'll ask if the person, or if it's a QHHT session and we're talking to the subconscious, whatever, I'll be like, do you have any messages for me?
Hmm.
And every single time it is a spot on for me.
What are some of the messages you got?
So the craziest one I got was, when I was really sick and I just couldn't, for months, couldn't eat or whatever. And I started being able to eat again. And I was like, I was doing a lot of fruit, and I was like, I need to start getting more protein. And I feel like I'm dragging, and I was losing weight and everything. I'm like, I need to get more protein. And I'm like, I think I might be able to stomach eggs. Eggs like aren't making me nauseous. I think I could stomach eggs. So I'm like, okay, maybe I'll start trying to eat eggs for breakfast. I then go and do a session. At the end of the session, I'm like, do you have any messages for me? And the client's like, she was speaking for the subconscious. It wasn't the typical, like, it wasn't the third person thing. She was just kind of saying what was coming in. And she goes, yeah, this doesn't make any sense. I go, just tell me. And she goes, I'm seeing eggs. And I just started laughing. And I'm like, message received. And she goes, what message? And I go, I'll tell you when we're done. And so I count her out. And then I said to her, I go, and I went through the whole scenario with her. And she goes, are you kidding? I go, no. I go, there's no
Was
way
it the
you
same
could've-"
lady that had the recorder on
No,
this
this was a couple months ago.
That's so cool.
But I was like, how? And she's like, how on earth did I know? And I go, you didn't.
Mm-hmm.
That information didn't come from you.
We're all connected.
Came from somewhere else. We're
Yeah.
all connected. And I'm just kind of like, I go, yeah, but I said, but that's the kind of bizarre messages I get. They're always so dead on with what's currently going on, or a question I'm kind of struggling with.
Can you give a couple more examples? It's fun.
I'm trying to think of something else. So that first session I had, so the same woman that saw the tape recorder. So the first night she induced me, and I wouldn't go down. It was really bad. It was not a good, I was tired. We had been talking for like 10 hours. It was like crazy. And so I struggled. Now, she had done hypnosis, other types of hypnosis before. So we had talked during our 10-hour conversation about a lot of things. And one of them was a, what do you call it? Not an invisible friend, imaginary friend. So when I was younger, I was probably like 5 or 6, I think. I was told that I was possessed because my parents thought
Oh yeah, I think
I was possessed or thought I had a demon. And it was all because some rumors that went around, and this older woman claimed that when after I came to her house, like her TVs were turning off and on and stuff like that. And because she had heard my father and my uncle talking about the fact that I had this imaginary friend and they weren't sure what to do about it. So she's all like, oh, it's a demon, it's a demon. So she goes to the witnesses and tells them. And so I guess they must have told my parents they needed to do something. I mean, it wasn't your typical exorcism. They just, I guess, prayed with me or whatever. And then after that, I stopped talking to it. Right. So they were all like, oh, successful exorcism. Okay. But I was always like, what was I talking to?
Mm-hmm.
What was that? Well, I've always been told that I'm empathic and everything like that. Why am I not anymore? I want to find out what happened. And so she's like, let's go back. And she took me back to that point. And I was able to describe the boy, what he looked like, everything like that. And yeah, it was just really, kind of crazy. So anyway, so we sort of had she got me through that. It really, and then we got to the SC, and my whole body felt hot. Like when I do Reiki and my hands vibrate, my whole body was vibrating and stuff. So then we get to the end of the session, and I was kind of disappointed. I was like, I didn't really think it was a great session. So then the next night I'm doing her, and at the end I'm like, okay, do you have any messages for me? And they go, we were here with you. We so wanted you to have a breakthrough last night. You have to trust. You don't trust. And so, you need to trust, you need to surrender, whatever. But we were here with you. You're going to be great at this. This is going to be what, you're going to help so many people with this, but you need to learn if you want to have a successful session yourself, you need to learn to trust and to surrender or whatever, And so it was because she was just adamant, like, we were here with you, we so wanted you to have a breakthrough. And I was like, well, I think I had a little one. And they're like, you did. But like, we wanted so much more for you.
Knowing that, what could you have changed so that you would have had that breakthrough?
Having taken Antonio's course and understanding now how very easy it is to go under, and to know that
you're present.
You're totally present.
I think that's a big one. Like if you get anything out of this podcast, when you're in hypnosis, you're present. And if you're not, okay, great.
Yeah, if you're not, great.
But more than likely, you will be.
You're going to know what's going on. You're going to completely be there. Yeah. And it's just, you say whatever comes into your head is kind of what it is. You just
even if it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Just say whatever it is.
Sometimes people have flashes. I've had flashes of different things. Recently with Jessica, and I was, I'm sorry, are you finished with your story?
Yeah.
I don't want to, where I was like an older lady living by a tree. The tree had all this moss, something like moss. But I wasn't getting much of a story. But I was telling her what was happening in this big, beautiful tree with all this moss. I had like a little shack there. So it can be frustrating.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I wanted to understand the story.
Right.
But for whatever reason, that was what I got.
Yeah. That's interesting. But yeah.
So just trust. Keep trusting.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned in another episode, my first QHHT session, I saw myself as Alice in Wonderland. And I was in the woods collecting plants. And so I didn't tell the practitioner, right? Because we don't know what's going on with someone all the time. And I just kept asking her questions, and she took me to the house. And then later on, I guess once I had time to get acclimated. So I'll also tell people, the more you talk, the more acclimated you'll get to what's going on.
Yeah.
I realized I had been out in the woods because I was collecting herbs for my mom. She was like a witch or like an herbal woman. I mean, about that time is when I looked down and I was no longer the cartoon. I was the kid with the dirty little hands.
Wow.
Yeah. So like that one I can see.
Yeah.
In my mind what that one looked like.
The one where I tortured, my ex. And it was, I still can't figure out whether it was a metaphor or what, but we started talking about him, and all of a sudden I got a flash of me, and I had this green, teal colored skin almost, and this tall, pointy, golden helmet. And then something around here that was gold too. And I was kind of like, what on earth is that? I can still picture it to this day, like clear as day. Yeah. Whereas other things that happened during the sessions have faded.
Right.
If I really think back about it, or if I listen to my recording, I could pick it up. But that was like so clear in my head. And I'm like, I didn't make that up.
Right.
Like if I made it up, it would have faded.
I've had people tell me, I know it was real because the things I was seeing aren't things I've ever seen before.
Right. That kind of stuff too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or like knowing what things are.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like, how do I know what that is? I've never seen that before. Or people using like words they've never used before.
Yeah.
Or I've had, what I love about like when the SC comes in, like in the QHHT sessions and stuff, when the person's like very subdued, but their subconscious is like, chatty, and they're like all over the place and very animated. And those kinds of sessions I love, when they're all like, oh, I got to tell you the one, and we'll save this for another session. But I got to tell you the one session, it's another QHHT person has it on their website. This woman, and it's about Trump. But the funniest part was when the client's SC is talking, and it's laughing, and it's like, she's never going to believe this. She is never going to vote for him. Even if we tell her to vote for him, she's never going to vote for him. Blah, 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 blah. And he's like, and they were going through this whole thing, and it was so funny because it was just, her subconscious was actually laughing at her like, oh, she's never going to buy this, but we're going to say it anyway.
That's so wild.
Yeah. But yeah, it was crazy. But yeah, so anything else? Any other myths about hypnosis? If you guys have any questions about any myths that you've heard, you can put those in the comments as well, and we will do our best to see if we can't dispel the myths for you. Trying to think if there was anything else you wanted to go over.
Did we go over what hypnosis is? Or is this just what hypnosis is not?
Well, no, I mean,
it's just an altered state of consciousness.
Yeah. So, that's what it is. Yeah. We haven't explained like the whole going to sleep and waking up in the morning and going to bed at night, how you're like in that.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, go ahead.
You go in and out of hypnosis, these altered states of consciousness all day long. So as Chris was just saying, in the morning when you're waking up, not with an alarm clock, but if you wake up naturally, or when you're going to bed. For me, I get cold and I get like this dreamy, and I can kind of control my dreams a little bit, but it's like, that's the altered state, right? And then I just fall asleep. The other one is, and Melissa Tears was talking about this, is when you watch a movie, right? If your critical mind kind of goes to the back or leaves.
Right.
So you allow yourself to enjoy its entertainment, but you kind of go into a trance then because you're enjoying what's going on. It's like a break for your brain to just have some fun and be entertained. The other one that I think everyone's did is, I think I realized this, I was like 28 and I got to work and I'm upstairs in the building. I'm like, oh my God, I don't remember driving here. What was I doing? I was like, I stopped at all the red lights. I merged on the highway, but I don't remember anything. And years later, I found that's a state of, it's altered state.
Yep.
And so that's what hypnosis is considered. So watching TV, listen to a story, you go in and out all the time. It's like nothing's scary. It's not like voodoo or.
Well, and that's what always, like, I recently, granted I was, diagnosed with my ADHD several years ago, late in life, which happens with a lot of women, and didn't realize that, my hyper focus that I get into is considered channeling. It's trance. And I mean, because you saw me do this, my husband, all the time, to the exclusion of everything, including bodily functions, needing to eat. When I get hyper focused on something, you cannot break me, and I will not hear anything that's going on around me. I won't absorb anything. I am completely entrenched. It's like a tick burrowing itself in. And then I found out that's basically almost like what you do when you channel. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting.
That is
But so it's my superpower. I always say my ADHD is my superpower.
I think so.
Yeah.
Getting this podcast together.
Right?
That's a superpower.
Yes.
You're like, Liz, you want to start a podcast? And I'm thinking, no,
No,
I don't think I'll do it. It sounds like a lot of work. She's like, I'll handle everything. Then I was like, I got to thinking about it. I'm like, all right, this could be cool. She's like, don't worry, Liz, I'll handle everything. All right, I'm on board.
Yeah.
So being in an altered state of consciousness allows you to access emotions and memories that aren't consciously available.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I kind of think of it as a filing cabinet, our memories and stuff, or our subconscious. Like you have your conscious mind, right? So we know what's going on right now. And then you have the programs and the memories and the emotions. And we can regress you back to a baby and put you in your crib, and you can tell us everything about the room that you were in at that age. So it's like a filing cabinet. You go into the filing cabinet. That's why people are like, I don't remember what I did with the keys, or I don't remember. You do.
You do.
You just have to access it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go back and you talk to yourself, like when I lose the keys or something, if I talk to myself and be like, all right, I know exactly where I put my keys because I had them in my hand. And even though I wasn't paying attention, I subconsciously know exactly where those are.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And you kind of talk yourself through it. And
Yeah.
I've always found things.
Or like you go back into a room. I'll do this all the time. I'll be start talking about something. I'll walk into another room and I forget what the hell I was talking about. And I'm like, I'll be right back. I'll walk back in the other room. And then like I'll see, or something I was looking at when I thought about what I wanted to say will catch my attention, and then I'll remember. It's like, it's all there. You just have to know how to access it.
So being under hypnosis gives you easier access to all these things, like the filing cabinet, as I was explaining.
Right.
It also connects you with the most primitive and emotional brain memories, right?
Yep.
Things that we block out on purpose. Antonio had said, and I've had it happen to me in QHHT sessions, it's not uncommon for someone to go back to when they were being SA'd, even as an adult, or they were drunk. The brain blocked it out.
I had a client who's did not know until we did a session.
Yeah. Did she felt like she knew? Because my client,
she kind of had, she knew, but her husband was drugging her to have sex with her, and he didn't need to. So it wasn't.
Were they still married when you had the session with them? That's terrible.
Yeah.
You heard about that lady in France? Her husband had been drugging her for like 15 years. And somehow online, they got in a group and men would come over and essay her. And I think what happened was one of them they couldn't let it go. They knew what they did was so wrong. I think, so the woman thought she had amnesia.
Oh my God.
If we can find it, we'll put something in the show notes.
Yeah.
She thought she was becoming coming down with dementia.
Oh, okay.
Because she wouldn't remember things. And then she found out, but she said he was the most loving husband. We had such a great relationship.
No, can you imagine the trauma?
And I think what he said when this came out in court, I think it was like a year or so ago, like he had sexual trauma when he was a child, and I guess that's just how it played out. But
but yeah, I mean that's the thing is so she knew something was off. But then it was when we did the session that she was like, oh my God, he was drugging me. Because again, like you said, the memory is there.
Yeah.
You may not remember it, but it's still there. And so you can go back and access it and realize what happened, but it's like, for whatever reason, you don't remember.
Yeah.
But, it's, again, why this whole process fascinates me. Because it's not that hard to do. No. It's really not that hard to access these. And I've even started, like I said, since we had our sessions or our training, I've started inducing my own trances and working on stuff myself.
Yeah.
And so that is something that people can learn, and you can be taught to get through this stuff.
Jose Luis Cabuli,
right?
Who trained Antonio in past life regression, Says you don't even need to go under. You don't
Yeah.
need to be in trance.
Yeah.
The memory's there.
Yeah.
The emotions are there. Which we experienced when we did the practice of navigating the memory. Do you remember that in the class?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And that was powerful.
Right.
I mean, that was really powerful.
Absolutely, yeah.
So with hypnosis, you can also eliminate pain.
Mm-hmm.
My hypno babies experience, I had
Oh,
2
right.
pain-free births. How I did, I mean, I was just amazed that I could do that.
Yeah,
I'm still amazed.
Yeah, I want to definitely learn how to do that. So, because I was saying, my daughter's got, whenever she has to go get blood work or a needle, she has a seizure.
Oh.
So she's deathly phobic about stuff like that. And so I want to try to work, use this to kind of help her with that phobia, because even if it's the pain, find out what the trigger, obviously we need to go back to the origin and find out where the fear came from. And this is really weird. This just dawned on me as we're sitting here. So I'll say it out loud. I think it may have to do with the abortion. So I had to have an abortion. I was pregnant with twins. Liz knows this. I'll just tell the rest of you. And when I was 5 months pregnant, I found out that my one daughter was very sick and would not live very long after birth. And if she did, it would be a very painful, miserable experience. And so when I was 5 months pregnant, 20 weeks pregnant, I had to have an abortion. Now she stayed in my stomach for the rest of the pregnancy. And as a result of her also being in there, Skylar didn't grow very big. She was only 4.5 pounds when she was born. But when they stuck that needle in, the needle got stuck and the doctor could not get it out. And like I said, he was like 6'7", put his foot up on the table, and is trying to pull this needle out. And I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, the needle won't come out. And I go, how can you stick a smooth needle in and a smooth needle doesn't come out? And he's like, your body is, your muscles have contracted around it. And so he finally got it out.
And it couldn't have been in there for long.
Oh, no. It was basically in, he injected and then starts pulling it out and it wouldn't come out. And so I wonder if we're going to find out
that's where
where her needle phobia is.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. And the fact that it just kind of came to me kind of makes me think that may be what it is.
Yeah.
Because you guys will find out too, as the more you do this stuff, like if you do decide to, maybe do this for a living, or even if you have multiple sessions done, it's weird, but it starts to happen more often that you will start to see connections in things that you didn't see before. And all of a sudden it'll just dawn on you that there's this connection with something and you're like, oh, wait a minute, so yeah, it kind of just opens you up to expanding your brain.
Yeah. And also important to note that hypnosis is cumulative. So for Chris, she kind of doubted that she could be put under. And then at the training class, Antonio did a technique where she went under. But then ever since then, like you're hypnotizing yourself.
Yeah, I'm doing it to myself now.
Yeah.
Because now I know what that feels like to be there and not be there. Because I definitely, when we did the hyperventilation one, which I've done the breath work before. So I knew that would work because I know I've gone into trance during breath work. And so when I was doing that, like I definitely can feel like I'm two separate people. It's almost like like you separate. Like duality. Yeah. Right. And part of me is listening and paying attention and I'm there. But there's another part of me that's like responding. Right. Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that was a really,
I think that the Hypno Babies course that I took was cumulative too, because you would listen to tracks every night or morning, whenever. You just had to listen to it. They wanted you to listen to it every day.
Right.
And it builds. It builds on each other. And then there was also a technique where I put my finger down, like I was shutting off a light, and that would put me under. And at first, because I had to practice this 3 times a day, I'm like, I don't feel anything. I was like, why don't I force myself to feel it? Right? Like kind of trick my body. I didn't really understand what I was doing then, but I was doing the right thing. But then the more you do it, the better you get. It's neuroplasticity. And
now that we're talking about it, something else just came to me. So when Sydney had colic, so I didn't for 70 days, I did not sleep. One, like maybe an hour a day.
Oh my God.
It was bad. I almost ended up in the hospital, but she had such horrible colic. The only time I could go to sleep, and again, this is just coming to me now, I would lay my tongue on the roof of my mouth. It was almost like I was so exhausted or whatever. It was like I was trying to pacify myself, almost like a binky.
Mm-hmm.
But I would lay my tongue along the roof of my mouth, and that would trigger me to go to sleep. And like I said, because I knew I didn't have long. I knew I was only going to get a couple of minutes here and there throughout the day. And so I took advantage of it. And so I'm now realizing that was a trance trigger. Putting my tongue, because I can still do it to this day. I don't do it as much.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, if I'm particularly just exhausted, I'll do it. And it puts me to sleep. So it must be that must be a trigger.
Yeah.
So I'll have to work on that.
Yeah, and you can teach people
and build on that. Yeah.
Too. Like if you have a session with someone, you can kind of put that in there.
Yeah.
The
you
next
can
time,
put the key word in.
Each time it'll be easier. You'll go even deeper. That was part of the Hypno Babies too.
Yeah, I heard one of Melissa's the other day. One of her things at Melissa Tears, one of the things I was listening to, she did the same thing. Like she was like, she basically said when you go under, or each time you go under, it's going to be, easier and easier or whatever it is. Yeah. You kind of put that in there.
It's very similar to meditation. So when people come to me, I always ask them if they meditate.
Yeah.
And when they say they do, or they'll start telling me about their meditation practice, like it's easy because they understand. Yeah. I don't know if you know who Jose Silva is. So I practiced his technique for a couple years. And it's very similar when you kind of go down or you come up.
Right.
Just getting to that altered state.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool stuff. Good stuff, guys. Right? Well, thanks for tuning in.
Yep.
We'll leave our information below. My YouTube channel's not up yet, but by July. It will be.
Maybe it'll be up by the time I actually post these.
And if you want a session, but you don't like me and Chris for some reason, not sure why you wouldn't.
Right, exactly.
Maybe my voice really gets on your nerves. We have a bunch of other practitioners that we know.
Yeah.
So
and actually, this is my hypnotic voice, if that helps at all. Now,
after you turn this off, you will have a wonderful day.
Yes.
You will feel so comfortable and so relaxed. When you put your head down to sleep, you will sleep peacefully. You will go down so fast and so easily.
It's so relaxed. But yes, so there is a hypnotic voice.
Should we use that hypnotic voice on here?
I'm afraid we would put people to sleep.
That was a special little preview.
Yeah, it was a little preview. You'll get to see it when we do live sessions or we do sessions, or if we, we'll be showing some sessions too. So.
And some people love that. I have a session from like 3 years ago. The guy was begging me to put on YouTube. So if that's you, if you want your stuff to be out there, please contact us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that would be great because it helps other people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So
thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks so much. And we'll see you in the next podcast. Have a good one.
That was pretty good.